Excellent Artists. Today we're going to do another type of op art. I like to call this op art hidden object. And what you get to do for the hidden object is choose one simple shape. Usually a geometric shape works best, but an organic shape would also work. We'll talk about the difference. And then another set of lines. It could be converging, curved, wavy, or parallel. So I will give you lots of choices today. You just have to only make one, even though I'm showing you many different options. All right, so let's get started. All right, so a hidden object op art is where you have an object, and I chose a triangle in this one, that you are trying to hide in your picture. I use parallel lines with this one. So this is an example I used with crayon. I'll show you some more examples along the way. So what you do first for your hidden art object is to choose a shape. Now there's several shapes you can draw, and if you are using a geometric shape and your sides need to be straight. Geometric shapes are shapes that are made and you use them in math class. So think of your shapes that have names like square, rectangle, trapezoid, parallelogram, diamond. Those would be all examples of geometric shapes. And often you use a ruler to make them. Now, if you don't have a ruler, you might be more interested in the organic shapes. But if you were doing, let's say, a rectangle, it doesn't have to be on there perfectly straight, but you might want to use a ruler so that you get really nice, neat lines. I made my one line a little too long. I'm drawing with pencil first, which is what you should also do. Now, if you'd rather do a different shape, like a diamond or a heart is more what we call an organic shape. It's a shape that comes from nature. Or you could do another organic shape, might be something like a leaf shape. So think of organic meaning from nature, shapes that you would find like raindrops or leaf shapes or hearts. Any kind of shape with curves would work great for organic. The idea though is to keep it simple. The more complicated your shape is, the more difficult it is going to be for you when it comes time to color. So once you've chosen your shape, the next decision you have to make, I'm going to do another shape right here. I'll do a triangle. Sometimes I can draw triangles without worrying about the other, without the ruler. So if you happen to have a ruler, you might be interested in one of the other two choices. So first choice, choose your shape. Okay. Second is to choose the type of line that you want to intersect them with. So there's four choices. Wavy lines, which is a type of curved line. Speaking of curve, you could just do one curve or arched line that's the same throughout the whole. So that's the other choice. You could do parallel lines. Now they could either be vertical or horizontal. They could even be diagonal if you wanted them. Speaking of diagonal, this is not parallel lines, but they are all straight, and they are converging all in the corner. Sometimes I like to call this one a fan because it looks, or a seashell because it looks like it's coming out from the corner. So you could have that from the top corner. It really won't matter because this is a square. When you're done, you can turn it around. So those are your four choices. What you do after you draw your shape is choose one of those to do all the same. So if I wanted to, I could curve my lines. If you're doing the curved example, you would just do like this. If you were doing the parallel lines, you would probably need something with a straight edge like a ruler. Now, if you don't have a ruler at your house or your classroom, you can use the side of a notebook or the edge of even a pencil would work. Now, depending what you use to color, you got to be careful how close you put your lines. If you're using crayons to color with, you want to keep those lines pretty far apart. Notice I don't always keep them perfectly spaced. It's kind of nice to have some a little closer together. You can also do one that I like to call the converging in the corner converging. Last time we did op art, we converged our line. We had our lines converging in the middle of our paper. This time, you would have them, maybe, if you want to, converging into the corner. Also, remember, don't get your lines too close together. It'll be difficult to color. The last one I can show you, and I have one drawn here, is where I use wavy lines to color or to cross over. Notice I don't try to cross with a third set of lines going the other way. That just gets a little too complicated for what we want to do. So once you've decided on your design, okay, once you've decided on your design, then what you're going to do is to take a color, and I suggest a dark color like purple or blue or black. Even red or dark orange would work, but something that is nice and dark. And what we are going to do, it depends how your design is. You're going to color in an A-B pattern again. And the trick though is where the lines cross your hidden object. So in this case, it's a heart or your rectangle, whichever shape you decided to do. You're going to use the same color for the whole thing. So if I start, I'm going to start along this edge. It's pretty easy because I only have one shape. I always start by outlining the shape and then coloring it in. Neatness is super important when you are doing op art. If you get scribbly with this type of op art, it's distracting to the people looking at your picture, and it won't really work as well as somebody's who has colored nice and neat. So neatness is key. You have to fill the whole shape. Make sure you're getting right up to the edges and that you're not going out of your lines. All right, so the next space, if we're coloring in an A-B pattern, would be left blank. And then this one would get colored in. But oh my goodness, look, I've got a problem here. I hit my object. In this case, it was my heart. I hit my shape. So I'm going to stop right there when it gets to the part where it runs into the other shape. I'm going to color this one in. And I'm going to look at the next place in my picture. So let me finish coloring this nice and neat. Neatness is super important. I know it's sometimes a rush to get into coloring to the next space before you forget what you're doing. All right, so I did this color. We'll call it red violet. Red violet, white, red violet. The only thing is I don't want to color all the way across because then you're not going to see my object at all. So what I'm going to do is if I pretend like this is a whole row, this curvy row, if I go right here, this is red violet, this would be blank, and this one would be red violet. So I color this one in. Think of it kind of like a goofy looking checkerboard where every other space is colored in. The nice thing about using a small paper on this too is that you will be able to get this done in a relatively small amount of time and maybe perhaps even experiment with another one if you're feeling. Now look at this. I've got two white ones right next to each other. That won't work because it should go red, violet, white. Then this little space right here should also be colored red, violet. So far I've got a nice A-B pattern. Red, violet, white, red, violet, white. Very good. So let's move on to the next row. Red, violet, white, red, violet. This should be left white, but when I move up to here where my heart is, and I can check it too, I'll start by outlining. But the nice thing about this is I can check it going across my paper as well. So red, violet, white, red, violet, white, red, violet. So check it both ways before you color it in. And you're going to continue doing this across your whole paper. Make sure that you don't skip around your paper. Don't like start here and then color over here. It's important that you move. I started on the right and am moving to the left. If you start on the left and move to the right, that's fine. Just make sure you're doing it all in the same pattern. Otherwise, it's going to not work. All right, so red, violet, white, red, violet, white, red, violet. All right, I'm going to show you what this looks like when I'm all done. And I'll show you a couple other examples that I have made and finished. If you have markers, you can color this with markers. If you have colored pencils, you can color it with colored pencils. Whichever art supply you are using, remember, neatness is key. Because if you aren't being neat, it's not going to work. All right, I'll see you when I'm all finished. All right, so now that I've got this all colored in, you can actually look at this, and at first it's kind of hard to figure it out, but there it is. My hidden object is the heart. This one is the triangle. The neat thing about these two is you can turn them any which way and they will look nice. All right, stay tuned and I'll show you the rest that I've made.